The old man looked so disheveled so Bai Qixin didn't recognize him at first, which was why he dared to act tough in front of Tang Lianyuan. Naturally, it was impossible for him to continue with taking Feng Taijian away forcefully with Tang Lianyuan stepping in. But things were different after that. Bai Qixin was being stubborn because he wanted to win in terms of aura. After all, there were so many people watching, he couldn't embarrass the Tianlong Chamber of Commerce. To his surprise, the Diamond King, Wu Baoxiang, was also present, and had also had his sights set on the human medicine rascal. He directly took him in as his disciple. Bai Qixin became flustered. Being invincible among third-grade martial artists wasn't scary. What was scary was that this Diamond King didn't have any relatives, children or disciples. Before today, he had always been a lone wolf. Not to mention the Tianlong Chamber of Commerce, even the Nation's imperial family would not want to provoke a third-grade lone wolf. Because he had nothing holding him back. Once they were at each other's throats, the Diamond King wouldn't have to worry about anyone or anything. Sneak attacks, assassinations, poisoning, and ambushes were all within his means. He was invincible among third-grade martial artists, and had no scruples. No faction could withstand this. If the Tianlong Chamber of Commerce became at loggerheads with the Diamond King because of Bai Qixin's selfish desires, the other chairmans would only throw Bai Qixin out for the Diamond King to vent this anger. They had only banded together because of profit. When one's own interests were threatened, no one would care about anything else. This was the terrifying deterrence and what was scary about lone wolves. As long as he did not die, he had to be prepared to endure endless revenge. Bai Qixin was no match for Wu Baoxiang, and he did not want to die. So all he could do was bow his head in defeat. Previously, he had attacked Su Jingxing because he didn't know his identity. Had he known about Su Jingxing's abilities earlier, Bai Qixin would never have revealed his intentions. Pity, it was too late. Fortunately, there was still room for discussion, and they had not reached the point where they would fight to the death. Jade Essence Liquid. Bai Qixin said in a hoarse voice, "I'm willing to give a caddy of Jade Essence Liquid." 10 caddies, interrupted Wu Baoxiang. 10 caddies of Jade Essence Liquid and I'll take it that I never saw you. Sure. Bai Qixin gritted his teeth. 10 caddies of Jade Essence Liquid. In half a month. 3 days, interrupted Wu Baoxiang again. If I see 10 caddies of Jade Essence Liquid in 3 days, we'll be strangers from now on. All right. Bai Qixin agreed through gritted teeth. In 3 days, I will present 10 caddies of Jade Essence Liquid. Excellent. Wu Baoxiang smiled. Me and my disciple will wait for you at the Martial Suppression Office for 3 days. With that, he turned around and walked towards the confused Feng Taijian. Let's go, disciple. Wu Baoxiang picked up Feng Taijian and soared into the sky, disappearing into the horizon amidst the latter's screams. He left. At the entrance of the hotel, the spectators looked at one another. Even Gu Zhanlin and Tang Lianyuan looked helpless. The Diamond King has always been like this. Gu Zhanlin explained to Su Jingxing. He's a straightforward man who does whatever he wants. He never cares about anything else. He has the capital to act wantonly, replied Su Jingxing. How many people dared to provoke an invincible third-grade lone wolf? 10 caddies of Jade Essence Liquid. Bai Qixin is going to make huge losses this time, commented Tang Lianyuan with a gloating smile. That's right. The most important resource to cultivate the ultimate technique of the diamond sect is diamond oil. Jade Essence Liquid is the main ingredient in the refinement of diamond oil. It's already a huge haul to be able to harvest a few hundred grams at once. I wonder where Bai Qixin will get 10 caddies of it in one go. Gu Zhanlin smiled wickedly. No matter where he gets it from, it has nothing to do with me. Su Jingxing said in a low voice, now that the matter has been resolved, I'll make a move first. Farewell. With that, he leaped into the air and disappeared at his fastest speed. Leaving so soon? Tang Lianyuan raised his eyebrows. This elder Jiang sure has a personality. A top-ranked martial artist who lives in seclusion. It's normal for him to have a personality, replied Gu Zhanlin with a smile. On the other hand, what do you plan to do with Chairman Bai? What to do? Tang Lianyuan sneered coldly. Of course we'll slowly settle the scores with him after he hands over 10 caddies of jade essence liquid to the Diamond King. In the air. After leaving the prefecture city's territory, Su Jingxing took out Thunderbolt and rode his spirit weapon through the air towards Qinghe City. Wu Baoxiang taking Feng Taijian away was something Su Jingxing earnestly wished for. Su Jingxing had warned him not to leave the hotel room, but he just wouldn't listen. Had it not been for the fact that the Diamond King happened to be nearby and followed Gu Zhanlin and Tang Lianyuan over to check on the situation after hearing the commotion, Su Jingxing would have made another enemy out of thin air this time. And it was an enemy backed by a huge organization like the Tianlong Chamber of Commerce. Now, Wu Baoxiang had taken him away as a disciple. With a backer, he wouldn't have to be afraid of others anymore. Henceforth, Su Jingxing had repaid Feng Taijian entirely for his care in the past. Whatever happened to Feng Taijian subsequently had nothing to do with Su Jingxing anymore. This time, he was surprised to learn from Gu Zhanlin that the Flying Lion Ring had been found. Half of the Flying Lion Ring was in his hands. Initially, he thought that it would take at least a few months or years to find the other half. To think it appeared so quickly. If he could combine the two, he would be able to wake up the Flying Lion army that had sealed itself for a few hundred years. But how? Getting half of the Flying Lion Ring wouldn't be easy for Su Jingxing either. Back then, if it weren't for the fact that the third-grade expert from the Golden Chen family did not want the Flying Lion Ring, Su Jingxing would have had a tough fight. Since this half of the Flying Lion Ring was in his hands, Su Jingxing had the final say in what to do with it. Would gifting it to the Changyang Prefecture Army provide any substantial benefits to Su Jingxing? No. Why should Su Jingxing do something that did not benefit him then? Even if it would be a trade. In any case, it would be best to keep it for the time being. He could always make the deal when he needed it. He made up his mind. Throwing the matter to the back of his mind, Su Jingxing made his way back to Qinghe City at lightning speed. In his small courtyard at the foot of the mountain, he washed up and changed into some clothes. Then, he headed out and made a quick trip to the crematorium. After that, he then headed to Gu Bo's place to usher in the new year together. Before that, he picked up his New Year's present for Gu Duo. That night, Gu Duo was overjoyed and declared that this New Year celebration was her happiest one. She also asked Su Jingxing to celebrate the next New Year with her. Su Jingxing changed the topic. It was too early to make an agreement now. Especially when Su Jingxing had made a deal with Lu Chenglong to protect the Yu nation for 10 years. What if something were to happen somewhere else next year, and needed Su Jingxing's help? Wouldn't he be breaking his promise? Even if Gu Duo forgot about it by then, Su Jingxing would have to abide by it. Half-heartedness and speaking haphazardly was most taboo for condensing the martial art true intent. Moreover, Su Jingxing was preparing to condense his own martial art true intent, all the more he couldn't afford to make any mistakes. The purer the mind, spirit and will, the better. Previously, Su Jingxing had consulted the ethereal sword immortal about the martial art true intent. The ethereal sword immortal, based on her own experiences, as well as what she learned from exchanges with acquainted top-ranked martial experts, told Su Jingxing that there were 3 difficulties in condensing martial art true intent. Firstly, one had to have ample soul power. Without enough soul power, one should simply give up on thinking about martial art true intent. This was because martial art true intent was a force that interfered with reality through the mind. If one did not have ample soul power, would his mind be strong? No way. And if one's mind wasn't strong enough, how could he interfere with reality? Therefore, having enough soul power was the first step to condensing martial art true intent, and also the most basic step. If this requirement was not met, all other considerations would be in vain. Most martial artists broke through to the third grade only after true energy turned into liquid and the true fluid was used to nourish the mind in the fourth grade. First, one had to strengthen the mind and increase soul power. The second step would only begin when soul power had accumulated to a certain level. The problem was with the first step. Increasing one's soul power was not something that could be done on a whim. To nourish one's mind with true fluid, one first had to have a large amount of true fluid, right? True fluid was liquefied true energy. In other words, it all still depended on one's true energy cultivation. The more profound one's true energy cultivation was, the faster the nourishment and increase in soul power through the use of true fluid. However, an increase in cultivation wasn't something that could be achieved on will. Under normal circumstances, having 60 years of true energy cultivation after breaking through to the fourth grade was considered pretty good. Century-old monsters relied on their talents, luck, and background. Background meant having a powerful backer could provide a lot of cultivation resources. Concentration fruits weren't the only heavenly treasures that could increase one's soul power. The Tianlong Chamber of Commerce, Xian Bank, the Golden Chen family, the Imperial Xia family. The major factions in the Yu nation all had heavenly treasures similar to the concentration fruit. To that end, having background and no background were two completely different worlds. Most independent cultivators relied on their luck or talents. A breakdown would show that the first step, having enough soul power, would have fended off 90% of fourth-grade martial artists. But this wasn't a problem for Su Jingxing at all. Be it his boundless soul power or his true energy cultivation of over 800 years. Su Jingxing had exceeded the requirements to condense martial art true intent. The second difficulty. Mind, spirit, and will, these three aspects combined into one. For this step, perseverance and hard work were useless. It all depended on talent or shortcuts. The first step of increasing true energy cultivation and accumulating soul power could also be resolved by consuming time. However, the second step required talent. Without talent, the combination of the three aspects was impossible. Taking shortcuts was an additional route that only came to be after thousands of years of fumbling and experimentation. After all, just because one lacked talent did not mean they would be forever hopeless. Relying on external objects to achieve this goal was equally feasible. Therefore, Zini cultivated the blood drop heretic art, the He family cooked the heaven ascension feast, and Su Jingxing directly devoured the Sisui horn dragon. That's right, Su Jingxing had easily resolved the second difficulty with the Sisui horn dragon. The Sisui horn dragon was a complete martial Dao true intent. Although its might and power had weakened, it had a mature template that could be used as reference. All Su Jingxing had to do was immerse himself in it and he would be able to combine his mind, spirit, and will. Not only that, it also provided experience to overcome the third difficulty, the ability to imagine a specific martial art true intent. One of them was the Sisui horn dragon, while the other was Su Jingxing's earth self. While the two didn't seem to be related, the third difficulty laid in the construction during this process of imagination. To mold a specific form so that it wouldn't collapse from being too intangible. It would be best if one could witness this with his own eyes. Knives, swords, and staffs were fine. One could also go take a look at some animals and plants. The difficult part was with mutated beasts, especially rare ones. There were only rumors about them, but they weren't to be seen with one's own eyes and could only be imagined. This was the case with the heaven-trampling elephant. There were only a few people in the past few thousand years who had seen the heaven-trampling elephant. Of course. A genius that appeared once in 100 years could definitely come up with a specific form just through their imagination. Such people could not be represented. Su Jingxing didn't have to go through all that trouble either. That was because he had the Sisui horn dragon as reference. Moreover, Su Jingxing knew his earth self best. Therefore, this difficulty could also be resolved easily. None of the three difficulties were difficult for Su Jingxing. The only problem left was the circulation of true fluid and the manipulation of the power of the universe. This was generally resolved using advanced internal exercises. The 8th level of the 9 steps trampling heaven was enough for Su Jingxing to take care of these two minor problems. Hence, after looking at these few steps, condensing martial art true intent was just a matter of time for Su Jingxing. All the problems weren't problems. All that was left was time, wasn't it? Su Jingxing was forthright. After pondering for a while and being clear of his targets, he decisively gave Wu Shuhan a heads up. He said he wanted to go into seclusion, but the duration was unknown for now. Wu Shuhan was even more straightforward. He immediately granted Su Jingxing half a year of paid leave. Even if he didn't take leave, it wouldn't affect Su Jingxing's salary. But old Wu was happy to do this, and it could keep others quiet as well. Without any interference from other factors, after preparing some food and drinks, Su Jingxing stayed in his small courtyard at the foot of the mountain and began to condense his martial art true intent day and night. A week later, a vague outline appeared. Half a month later, the specific outline was formed. A month later, a glowing human body was successfully formed. The facial features of this human body were exactly the same as Su Jingxing's earth self. It was also a little similar to his current body. Right now, Su Jingxing's physical body, facial features, and appearance, had undergone continuous tempering and minor adjustments after practicing martial arts. They were already very different from the original Su Jingxing, they were more inclined towards Su Jingxing's earth self. Therefore, if he were to run into friends of the original Su Jingxing from a year ago, they would never associate him with Su Jingxing. Instead, they would only find him quite familiar. As time passed, this gap would only get bigger. Now that Su Jingxing's earth self had been materialized, his progress was even greater. However, the current Su Jingxing was not yet an actual martial art true intent. Martial art true intent not only had to be manifested, but also had to be equipped with offensive power. For example, getting Su Jingxing to stand up, swing his fists and kick his legs. It would be like how the Sisui horned dragon circled Su Jingxing up and down, dancing and coiling around him as it devoured by Chisen's white snake. This required time. The current Su Jingxing couldn't even open his eyes. Even after materializing it, it could not exist for long. In less than half a minute, it would dissipate on its own. Even so, Su Jingxing was satisfied. He was able to condense a martial art true intent in a month's time. If news of this got out, the entire Yu nation, including the Changyang prefecture, would be in turmoil, let alone Qinghe city. An unprecedented commotion. Su Jingxing didn't know how long it took for the fastest person to condense martial art true intent. However, he believed that he could definitely rank in the top 10. Or top 3. Regardless, Su Jingxing was delighted. It would take time for the martial art true intent to take effect. Even converting true energy entirely into true essence required time. Su Jingxing wasn't in a hurry. Once he achieved both, he would be a third-grade martial artist. After cultivating in seclusion for a month, Su Jingxing first went for a feast. Then, he bought some clothes, cloaks, and masks. He only reported to the crematorium on the next day. "Hey, Captain Little Su. You're back. Long time no see, Captain Little Su. I've missed you." "Ha. Where did Captain Little Su go to play for such a long time?" F***ck off. Was Captain Little Su playing? He was clearly breaking through in seclusion. Really? Captain Little Su. As he walked through the entrance of the crematorium, the familiar people he met greeted and joked with him. While Su Jingxing nodded in response, he took the opportunity to increase his strength. Tvi succeeded. "I'm finally in the 8th grade. Silence. The joking group froze on the spot. He was already in the 8th grade. Even though they knew that Su Jingxing would reach the 8th grade sooner or later, wasn't this too soon? 8th grade was not the 9th grade whereby all he had to do was temper and build up his strength. He also had to exude internal force. The second was the key. How did Su Jingxing manage to exude internal force so quickly? Shock, doubt, disbelief, envy, and jealousy. All sorts of expressions flashed across their faces, and their hearts were in turmoil, unable to calm down. Seeing this, Su Jingxing didn't bother explaining and simply stomped on the ground. Thump. The dull thud woke everyone up. Subconsciously, everyone looked at the ground. Su Jingxing took a well-timed opportunity to bid farewell to everyone and left. The crowd's mouths gaped open as they stared at the ground beneath Su Jingxing's feet in shock. Footprint. A clear footprint was left on the concrete floor. More than 10 fine cracks could be seen on the ground around and below the footprint. The problem was that Su Jingxing's shoes were completely fine. There wasn't even a crack, let alone them shattering. What did that mean? This meant that Su Jingxing had indeed exuded internal force. Only when internal force passes through the soles of one's foot and into the ground would it leave such a clear footprint. In other words, Su Jingxing was really an 8th grade martial artist. Whoosh! After a brief silence, the crowd erupted. P***MN, 8th grade. Captain Little Su is really in the 8th grade. Genius, a genius. Captain Little Su is definitely a genius. A .15, no, 16-year-old 8th grade martial artist. How many people can do that? Let Captain Little Su can definitely advance to the 7th grade before the age of 20. Nonsense. Advancing to the 6th grade before the age of 20 is more like it. Everyone was beyond excited. Soon, the news that Su Jingxing was an 8th grade martial artist spread throughout the crematorium. All of a sudden, the crematorium staff basked in his glory. The relatives of the deceased, who had come to collect their ashes or hold a farewell ceremony, were also clicking their tongues. A 16-year-old 8th grade martial artist was indeed worthy of the title, genius. The crematorium produced a genius, which was even more astonishing. Wu Shuhan jumped up in excitement when he heard the news. He rushed to Su Jingxing's office and chatted with him for a long time. His strategy had proved to be extremely fruitful. He gave Su Jingxing's absolute freedom and look, he was now an 8th grade martial artist. This year, he had reached the 8th grade. In the following years, 7th grade, and a few more years, he would reach the 6th grade. He would be a martial artist in the middle ranks at the young age of 20, and he was from the crematorium. Just the thought of it was exciting. There was nothing to be said. They had to celebrate. Su Jingxing couldn't stop him even if he wanted to. With a wave of his hand, Wu Shuhan announced that he was inviting all the staff to the hotel for a meal to celebrate Su Jingxing's advancement. Of course, they went to the hotels in batches. The crematorium couldn't be without workers, so people on shift had to wait for the next round. The idle ones left immediately. The canteen staff also had a day off and went to the hotel. Wu Shuhan had paid for everything personally. Old Wu was overjoyed. He drank with Su Jingxing all the way and ended up lying on the table. Originally, Su Jingxing didn't want to make a big deal out of this. However, Old Wu insisted on it, and there was no point in stopping him. Fortunately, after some celebrations, he finally calmed down. However, when everyone looked at Su Jingxing again, their eyes were filled with respect. 8th grade was a step above 9th grade. Those who weren't close to him instinctively feared him. The managers were even more polite when greeting him. Even Gu Bo, Kong De Bao, and the other members of the corpse collection team 1 became a little reserved. It took Su Jingxing a few days to get them back to normal. On this day, on the way home from work, Su Jingxing received a call from Shenxian. With the destruction of the Shi family, the Stone Annihilation Alliance was mostly dispersed. After the new year, there were only a few people left. With Shen Qian as the leader, these people rebuilt a small studio and served Su Jingxing while taking in jobs themselves. Su Jingxing wasn't against the idea of making deals with them. There were some things he couldn't be bothered to do, and it was best to leave them to Shen Qian and the others. It saved him a lot of trouble and effort. Therefore, he answered Shen Qian's call without much thought. "Senior, there's a matter, I don't know if you've learned about it." Su Jingxing raised his eyebrows. "What do you mean?" "Eyes about a stone tablet," explained Shen Qian, organizing her words. Before the new year, there was a strange commotion in the Sky Water River. The waters surged, and waves splashed onto the bank. According to our investigations, there were no floods or heavy rainstorms in the upper reaches. In short, the Sky Water River was very strange back then. "I know that," replied Su Jingxing as he walked. "But what does that have to do with this?" "It's related." Shen Qian drew a deep breath. The source of this incident was the stone tablet that Leng Lin captured first. "Oh, by the way, Leng Lin is our computer expert. Senior hasn't seen him before. He stays at home and doesn't like to go out." "Go on." "Yes, Senior," said Shen Qian again. Early the next morning after the commotion in the Sky Water River, Leng Lin controlled a drone to examine the situation on the river surface. Out of curiosity, he captured a bunch of photos using the drone. Later on, when I was organizing the photos, I discovered a stone tablet in the corner of one of them. A stone tablet floating on the river surface. At the time, Leng Lin didn't think too much about it and uploaded the photo to a forum, letting everyone speculate about whether it might have been a tombstone. At first, it wasn't that bad on the forum. Although it was quite popular, it didn't attract much attention. But gradually, for some reason, the posts on the forum disappeared, and more people came to look for Leng Lin. At first, it was a private company, then a large one. Finally, the Li and Zhou families also came. Up till yesterday, almost all the major factions in Qinghe City had approached Leng Lin to see if he had any other pictures of the stone tablet. Of course Leng Lin denied it. Most people believed him, but some didn't. These people are tracking his address online every day. "This is strange, You want me to help Leng Lin, don't you?" interrupted Su Jingxing. "Yes." On the other end of the line, Shen Qian hesitated for a moment before answering, "I wouldn't dare to lie to you, Senior. Leng Lin's discovery was purely an accident, we didn't expect it to attract so much trouble. Now that he's been targeted, he changed his address, he doesn't dare to go online or go out. The few of us wanted to help, but our abilities are limited. After a few futile attempts, we thought of you and would like to ask you for a favor. Rest assured, Senior. We are willing to pay you 5 million great dollars as payment." "We'll talk about the money later," Su Jingxing cut her off. "How do you want me to help?" "Clear all of Leng Lin's online posts." Shen Qian said quickly, "His information has been dug up by several major factions. Leng Lin said that he hopes to get rid of all his information once and for all and become an unregistered resident." "Sure." Su Jingxing stifled a laugh. "He'll fulfill his wish. However, before that, pass me a copy of his information. Also, send me a copy of the photo taken of the stone tablet. 1 million great dollars will suffice for the fee." "All right, Senior. We'll transfer the money immediately." Shen Qian hung up excitedly and went about her work. On this side, Su Jingxing returned to his small courtyard at the foot of the mountain and switched on his computer. He received a notification that he had received a transfer of 1 million great dollars to his account, a photo, and a copy of an individual's personal information. Leng Lin, male, 28, works at a computer company. Low profile and introverted. After searching the information online, Su Jingxing realized that it was all over the internet. Even though Lang Lin was a computer expert, he was alone. Faced with the team efforts from various major factions, all the information regarding Lang Lin from the moment he was born to starting work in the company had been dug up. Had it not been for the fact that the fellow escaped quickly, he would have been caught red-handed in his rented house. The only reason he wanted to become an unregistered resident was to escape to another city. Of course, if Su Jingxing was willing to come forward and vouch for him, he wouldn't have to be afraid of anything. The question was, why should Su Jingxing vouch for him? Before Shen Qian called, they had never even heard of each other, let alone know each other. At the very least, Su Jingxing had no idea that such a person existed. Vouch for him? You're dreaming. The current situation is great. If they need help, they will have to pay. It is purely a transactional relationship. No one owes anyone anything. Getting rid of a person's information couldn't be done for Shen Qian and the others, but it was easy for Su Jingxing. Working hard on the computer, the identity Lang Lin disappeared from every system in Qinghe City in less than 20 minutes. He had become a complete unregistered resident. Su Jingxing had also cleaned up all the traces he left online. All information regarding Lang Lin, which had been preserved by the major faction, was also erased. Once he was done, Su Jingxing sent a message to Shen Qian. Then, he clicked on the photo and looked at a stone tablet in the corner. As the sky-water river surged, the stone tablet floated on the surface of the water when the photo was captured. There was nothing special about it. After zooming in on the photo, Su Jingxing carefully inspected the stone tablet and found that it was engraved with fine patterns. Array formation patterns. They also look a little like ancient text. They were connected and attached to each other, but Su Jingxing couldn't figure out what that meant. He searched online and found that there were indeed many people discussing the stone tablet. Some called it a tombstone, some called it a memorial tablet, and others called it a martial arts secret manual. In short, there was lots of discussion centered around this stone tablet. Even though the original post was gone, the discussion caused by the stone tablet had long spread to all the networks in Qinghe City. Su Jingxing read for a while and realized that someone was deliberately guiding the discussions. That's right, deliberate guidance to maintain the popularity of this topic. That is strange. No one knew what exactly was the stone tablet, but people were hyping it up. What are they up to? Qinghe City's third People's Hospital. Ina VIP room. Lu Wuchang was sitting on the sofa, watching TV in boredom. In the hospital bed next door, Lu Chen lay motionless. The bed was connected to various devices, and the beeps sounded steadily. At first glance, he seemed to have fallen asleep. In reality, Lu Chen was already in a vegetative state. Even though he wasn't dead, he couldn't move or wake up. No one knew when he would wake up. All the doctors and medical experts who should have been called in had been there, and none of them could come up with a solution. All they could say was that everything depended on the situation. In the vegetative state, some would wake up in a few months, and some wouldn't even wake up for a few years. Given the Lu family's wealth, it wouldn't be a problem for Lu Chen to even stay in bed for decades. That wasn't why Lu Wuchang was bored. Before the incident with Lu Chen, he had warned him that death was certain. Even though he wasn't dead yet, becoming a vegetable was no different from dying. Lu Wuchang called his parents and informed them of the situation. After Lu Chen's parents came and confirmed that there was no longer any hope for him, they left Lu Chen in Qinghe City and went home by themselves. It wasn't that they were cold-blooded. Instead, it was because the Lu family had been at odds with the Zheng family for the past half a year. Lu Chen had tried to stir up trouble on his own, but ended up getting thrown into the river and hit his head on a rock, turning into a vegetable. If the Zheng family found out about this, they would definitely use it as a weapon to attack the Lu family. As a result, they had no choice but to hide Lu Chen in Qinghe City. Lu Wuchang was mainly responsible for keeping an eye on Lu Chen and ensuring that no one from the Zheng family discovered him. At first, Lu Wuchang was extremely frustrated. However, Once he went online and accidentally saw a photo, he immediately perked up and sent people out to investigate. He was watching television in boredom purely because waiting was torturous for him. However, as soon as his phone rang, Lu Wuchang sat up straight and answered the call. "How's it? Have you figured out where it's from? Are you sure?" "Good, very good. Remember, no one is allowed to talk about this. Someone is deliberately guiding the discussion online. Heh, looks like we aren't the only ones who know what's going on. It's fine. Let them do it. It'll save us a lot of trouble since they are willing to take action. Of course, you guys can't slack off either. Keep an eye on the situation in the city." After hanging up the call, Lu Wuchang stood up and paced around the room excitedly. "TSK, this is the will of the heavens." The opening of Qin King Mausoleum triggered the ruckus in the Sky Water River. The river waters surged violently, and some things buried at the bottom of the river were washed out. Truly a pleasant surprise for these things to see the light of day again. Lu Wuchang sighed. All of a sudden, his heart skipped a beat. "What's going on?" Taken aback, Lu Wuchang asked, "Danger? Is there something wrong with that stone tablet?" He couldn't figure it out. It was a magical omen, but it couldn't fool anyone. An opportunity that comes with danger? Lu Wuchang mused. In the small courtyard at the foot of the mountain, Su Jingxing did not hold on to the stone tablet. Even though this thing was strange, it had nothing to do with him. After browsing the internet once more, Su Jingxing switched off his computer, washed up, and ate. After eating, he would continue to temper his martial art true intent and strive to open its eyes first. The next day, when he got to work at the crematorium, he patrolled the area once in a while as per his usual routine. When it was almost noon, he bumped into Gu Bo, who was about to head out. "Team leader Gu, is there a field mission?" asked Su Jingxing, stepping forward. "Yeah, the Martial Suppression Office called. They found a corpse," replied Gu Bo. "Little Su, if you have nothing on, you can come with us." "Sure," replied Su Jingxing happily. He loved field missions. He got into the corpse transportation truck and followed Gu Bo to the scene. This time, it didn't take place outside the city. Instead, it was in a hotel in the city. The corpse was discovered by the hotel's cleaners. The state of the corpse was extremely strange. As Su Jingxing and Gu Bo chatted on the way, they were still discussing how strange it could be. When they arrived at the scene and saw the corpse in the hotel room, they finally understood what it meant to be strange. A mummy. The deceased had turned into a mummy. Not to mention fresh blood, even the moisture on his body had vanished entirely. How did this happen? Gu Bo was left speechless. He was an experienced worker in the crematorium, and had seen countless corpses. He had seen all kinds of tragic situations, but this was his first time seeing a corpse like this. Not sure. Qi Zhaoqin, who was in charge of the scene, said with a grim expression, "From the marks on the corpse, it seems like it was beaten up." "A martial arts expert?" asked Gu Bo, stunned. What kind of martial artist could wipe out a person's moisture and blood? It could also have been done through absorption, Su Jingxing couldn't help but interject. At the same time, he racked his brains. Vampire? Art of essence absorption? Dark North divine art too? In any case, the cause of death of this corpse was very strange. For this reason, Su Jingxing and Gu Bo waited instead of taking the corpse away immediately. They waited for personnel of even higher rank from the Martial Suppression Office to come and check on the situation. Due to the strangeness of the corpse, it was easy to associate it with martial artists who cultivated heretic arts. Heretic martial artists were the focus of the Martial Suppression Office's surveillance. Every heretic martial artist was an unstable element that needed to be watched closely. Therefore, even though Qi Zhaoqin had called the crematorium, Gu Bo and Su Jingxing had to wait. Fortunately, after waiting for a while, Sun Yi, the chief of control of Martial Suppression Office Western District Branch, arrived at the scene. After examining the corpse, Sun Yi frowned and also called his superior. Li Linzhou. A mummy-like corpse was too strange. As a precaution, it was best for the head of the Martial Suppression Office, Li Linzhou, to have a look. In terms of experience and strength, Li Linzhou was the strongest. Su Jingxing didn't care about that. When no one was looking, he put his right hand behind his back and took out the card he had extracted. He held it in his palm and read its description. True Energy Card. He extracted a True Energy card with 21 years of cultivation from this mummy-like corpse. 21 years of True Energy cultivation. This meant that the victim's True Energy cultivation had been extremely profound when they were alive. They were either in 4th grade, 5th grade, and even the kind with over 50 years of cultivation. Su Jingxing was pleased with the card, even though what he wanted the most was a memory card. Unfortunately. Make way. Make way, all of you. A bellow suddenly came from outside, breaking Su Jingxing's train of thought. Silently, he put the card away. Su Jingxing looked at Sun Yi. Sure enough, the latter's face sank, and he turned around to leave the room. Who's messing around? Boom! The air suddenly exploded, creating a massive whirlwind. It swept from the outside of the room all the way in. Everywhere it passed, the staff of the Martial Suppression Office would stagger backward. Gu Bo even fell flat on his butt. Seeing this, Su Jingxing took a few steps back and leaned against the wall. At the same time, he looked up at the door, ready to see which big shot dared to disregard the Martial Suppression Office. You're Sun Yi, aren't you? Get out of my way. Adult and burly figure walked through the door. Pointing at Sun Yi, she cursed without restraint. I'm not in the mood to play along with you. If you don't want to die, get out of my way. The comers of Sun Ye's lips twitched. Resisting the urge to burst out, he took a step back. The comers of Qi Zhaoqin's eyes also twitched at the sight of the person. Even Gu Bo gaped in shock. Meanwhile Su Jingxing was simply puzzled. Wang Taidao. The patriarch of the Wang family, a woman who was even more manly than a man, and had countless male concubines, Boss Wang Taidao had charged here. What was she up to? Amidst Su Jingxing's amazement, she heard a sorrowful, angry, and shocked howl. Junior sister. Who did it? Who did this? TM gonna kill him. I'm gonna kill him. Ah, roared Boss Wang. When Sun Yi, Qi Zhaoqin, and the others heard this, their expressions changed drastically. This time, Su Jingxing's heart also skipped a beat. Junior sister. The corpse that had turned into a mummy was Wang Tidao's junior sister. Most people in Qinghe City knew about Wang Tidao's identity and experiences. An ordinary person who obtained the profound water pearl by chance and was taken in as a disciple by an elder of the 100-Flower Valley. From then on, she gained a powerful backer and did not need to fear others. After more than 10 years of hard work, Wang Taidao had managed to build up a Wang family which was equally famous alongside the Li and Zhou families. Even though their foundations could not be compared, the Wang family's influence, network of experts, and the power they controlled weren't any weaker than the Zhou family due to Wang Tidao's identity. What was the most important part of Wang Tidao's identity? The 100-Flower Valley. Someone she could address as junior sister had to be a member of the 100-Flower Valley. A disciple from 100-Flower Valley had been killed and turned into a mummy. Sun Yi and Qi Zhaoqin felt dizzy at the thought. There was only one thought in their minds. This is serious. Unlike the Jade Sword sect and the Divine Fist sect, the 100-Flower Valley was a big sect with a legacy of 1,000 years. In the entire Yu nation, and even in the surrounding countries, it was a reputable and powerful organization. Even the Golden Chen family and Cin Bank paled in comparison. This sect, which had comprised women since 1,000 years ago, was the most unreasonable and fearless. And now, a female disciple of Hundred Flower Valley had been reduced to a mummy. From this, one could well imagine how enraged the Hundred Flower Valley would be. How did this happen? Murmured Sun Yi almost dreamily. Now that a disciple of Hundred Flower Valley had died in Qinghe City, things were about to get lively in the city. Swoosh! Sound of breaking wind came from outside the window. A figure flew in through the window. What's going on? Li Linzhou's sleeves fluttered in the wind. Frowning, he asked, what kind of thread was found on the victim's body? You died a tragic death, junior sister. Wang Taidao broke down in tears, cutting Li Linzhou off. Recognizing Wang Taidao, Li Linzhou wanted to offer some words of consolation, but his expression changed drastically upon hearing her words. Junior sister. A disciple of the Hundred Flower Valley? How could that be? Li Linzhou was momentarily stunned. This is troublesome. Damn the murderer. Not only did they kill a disciple from the Hundred Flower Valley, they even turned her into a mummy. What are they up to? To fight to the death with Hundred Flower Valley? With such vicious methods, could the murderer be an archenemy of the Hundred Flower Valley? Is there a powerful faction behind the murderer that they dared to target the Hundred Flower Valley? Even if this faction wasn't as powerful as Hundred Flower Valley, it wasn't much weaker, was it? What is their goal in killing a disciple of the Hundred Flower Valley? Purely revenge? Or deliberately provoking a conflict? What a headache. When Li Linzhou came back to his senses, he felt like his head was about to explode. It wasn't that he was afraid of the Hundred Flower Valley. Although the 1,000-year-old sect had terrifying strength, the Martial Suppression Office was the #1 martial arts organization in the U-Nation. It had both manpower, money and resources. What troubled Li Linzhou the most was the series of problems caused by the death of the disciple of the Hundred Flower Valley. She died in Qinghe City. Whether it was the murderer or the Hundred Flower Valley, they were bound to start off an intense fight in Qinghe City. Exchanges between experts would most easily bring about undeserved catastrophe. In the end, the ordinary people would be the ones suffering. This wasn't something he could control. Alarmed, Li Linzhou made up his mind. First, he drew a deep breath. Then, he said, "Rest assured, Patriarch Wang. The Martial Suppression Office will cooperate with your operation to find the murderer. Given how unbridled the murderer is, they must be an expert. Just in case, I'll report this matter and have a universal envoy stationed at Qinghe City." The room fell silent. The howling Wang Taidao went stiff and stopped yelling. The faces of Sun Yi and the others lit up with joy. A universal envoy, an envoy who patrolled the world. This position was an important position in the Martial Suppression Office, and only top-ranked experts could hold it. After Li Linzhou's report, the universal envoy that would come could either be in the 3rd grade, 2nd grade, or even the 1st grade. As for the exact grade, that would depend on the situation. But the lowest was 3rd grade. When a 3rd grade martial artist arrived in Qinghe City, no matter how furious the people sent by Hundred Flower Valley were, they had to contain their anger and control their emotions. Even if they had no other choice but to strike, they had to do so outside the city. Li Linzhou had announced his decision in front of so many people because he wanted to tell Wang Taidao, the Martial Suppression Office would accommodate the search for the murderer, but they were not to behave unscrupulously in the city. Wang Taidao understood that, so she remained silent. Li Linzhou could not control the situation, and neither could she resolve it. The Hundred Flower Valley would only dispatch its personnel after people taking care of the aftermath reported the matter. Of course, the people from the Hundred Flowers Valley would need time to arrive, but the deceased's corpse would still be cremated first. This was a rigid rule. There was nothing that could be done in the wild, but in the city, it had to be cremated. To that end, Wang Taidao extracted some tissue and cells from the corpse and snapped a full-body photo. Only then did Gu Bo and Su Jingxing put the corpse into the body bag and carry it out of the room, returning to the crematorium. Along the way, Gubo sighed. Since the murderer dared to kill a disciple of the 100-Flower Valley, they certainly wouldn't be weak, probably in either 3rd grade or 4th grade. "TM more curious about why the murderer killed her," said Su Jingxing, pondering. Could the deceased have known the murderer when she was alive? Well, Gubo mused and said, that's possible. Think about it. A disciple from 100-Flower Valley came to Qinghe City, but instead of looking for Boss Wang, who is from the same sect, she checked into a hotel by herself. No matter how you look at it, there's something fishy about this. Maybe she's here for a private matter. Su Jingxing guessed. Because it was a private matter, that's why she didn't look for Boss Wang. God knows, said Gubo, shaking his head. Anyway, this matter won't end anytime soon. Now that she's dead, whether it was a private matter or not doesn't matter anymore. That's true, agreed Su Jingxing. That's right. No matter what happened to the deceased when she was alive, her death was the biggest problem. Back at the crematorium, Gubo brought the corpse to carry on with the subsequent procedures. After work, Su Jingxing went to the canteen, had lunch, and returned to his small courtyard at the foot of the mountain. Given his current strength, working a moming shift was more than enough. He could also extract cards at home. Going to the crematorium and showing his face occasionally was enough to cover his job. After some thought, Su Jingxing decided that it was best to keep an eye on the death of the 100-Flower Valley disciple in Qinghe City. Protecting the Nation for 10 years was his vow. Between the 100-Flower Valley and the mastermind, Su Jingxing had no objections as to whatever they did, and neither would he intervene. However, if the conflict between the two affected others and caused large-scale casualties, it would be related to Su Jingxing. By then, even if Su Jingxing didn't intervene, he would have to. For that, he had to keep an eye on this matter. In the afternoon, he stayed at home and used True Fluid to nourish his mind and temper his martial art True Intent. At night, he suddenly received a call from Shenqian. Senior, someone wants to sell a strange energy-gathering stone. Strange? Asked Su Jingxing, stopping his tempering. How so? The other party said that hugging the energy-gathering stones to sleep allows one to sleep very comfortably, replied Shenqian, stifling her laughter. Hugging it to sleep allows one to sleep very comfortably. Isn't that normal? Energy-gathering stones are meant to gather worldly energy. For ordinary people, hugging an energy-gathering stone to sleep is equivalent to being enveloped by worldly energy. Even the slightest shred of energy will make their sleep extremely comfortable. This is all too normal. By the way, that energy-gathering stone is very light. Shenqian recalled something and continued. Senior, your offer price is 5 million great U$ per kilogram. But while the energy-gathering stone that this person has isn't small, about the size of 2 palms, it's very light, not even half a kilogram. So? Asked Su Jingxing. So the other party requested the same price. We cannot reduce the price just because it's not as heavy, answered Shenqian. Sure. Pondering for a moment, Su Jingxing replied, if the stone is really the size of 2 palms as he claimed, I'll give 5 million great U$. Alright, I'll reply him right away. Shenqian hung up. Su Jingxing put down his phone and stopped cultivating. He got up and took out his gear, cloak and mask. An energy-gathering stones that was the size of 2 palms. If there was no problem with it, $5 million it shall be. In any case, Su Jingxing wasn't short of money. The bigger the energy-gathering stone, the faster it could gather energy. For that, if the size of the stone was as claimed, this deal would be worth it. When he finished getting dressed, his phone rang again. It was still Shenqian. Senior, the seller has agreed and wants to proceed with the deal as soon as possible. Tonight, at a pavilion in the northwestern corner of Central Square at 11 p.m. tonight. Got it, replied Su Jingxing, give him a reply that he'll be there on time. Tell him to hold on to the energy-gathering stone properly. Yes, senior. Shen Qian answered and hung up. Su Jingxing switched on his computer and transferred 6 million Great Yu dollars to Shen Qian's account. Once the deal was closed, 5 million would be given to the other party. 1 million would be the payment for Shen Qian and the others. The agreed time was 11 p.m. Since he had some time, Su Jingxing went online to search for news regarding the stone tablet. At the same time, he also checked if there was any information regarding the death of a disciple from 100 Flower Valley. He found that the internet was still bustling with talks and discussions of the stone tablet. On the contrary, there was nothing about the disciple of the 100 Flowers Valley who had been turned into a mummy. Whether or not the Martial Suppression Office was behind this wasn't clear either. Speaking of which, why would a disciple of the 100 Flower Valley appear in Qinghe City? Su Jingxing pondered as he scanned through the information. Time flew by, and soon it was 11 p.m. After putting on his equipment, Su Jingxing walked out of the courtyard, took to the air, and flew towards the Central District. Central Square generally referred to the People's Square in the Central District. The square was built by the government, and it did not have many recreation facilities nor was it large. Su Jingxing flew through the air. When he reached the appointed place, he saw a thin figure waiting in the pavilion. Immediately, he chose a remote corner and landed. Then, he walked towards the pavilion. When he was about 10 meters away, the man in the pavilion suddenly turned around and looked at him. "Stop right there," shouted the man, stopping him. "Wait, are you the buyer?" "It's me," said Su Jingxing in a lowered voice. "Did you bring the energy-gathering stone?" Swish. Without another word, the man tossed a package at Su Jingxing. Su Jingxing took it and opened the package. There was a large energy-gathering stone inside. And indeed, it weighed less than half a kilogram. Moreover, this energy-gathering stone gave Su Jingxing a strange feeling. Very comfortable. Sleepy. It is indeed strange. What do you think? Is everything okay? Urged the man. If it's fine, please transfer the money. This is my bank account. He tossed Su Jingxing another bank card. While Su Jingxing caught it, he suddenly asked, "Where did you get this?" "L picked it up by the river." The man blurted out. He only realized what he had said after. His face darkened and he snapped, "Why do you care where I got it? Just tell me straight if you don't want it, I didn't force you to buy it." His words were harsh. If it were anyone else, they would have gotten into a fight by now. However, Su Jingxing had bought energy-gathering stones several times before the new year, and whenever he confirmed that they were authentic, he would immediately pay for them. As a result, his reputation was great. High price, good reputation, and no nonsense. Once the news spread, the subsequent sellers grew bolder. They weren't afraid that Su Jingxing, an expert, would attack them. The same went for this man. Su Jingxing listened to his heartbeat. Even though he realized that his heart was racing, he didn't expose him. He took out his phone and called Shen Qian, telling her to make payment. Moments later, the man's phone beeped. He quickly opened the notification and was overjoyed when he saw a string of zeros. "Huh, thanks." He excitedly put away his phone and left. Su Jingxing remained in the same spot. He held the strange energy-gathering stones in his hand and sensed for any abnormality. However, he didn't find anything. His detection range was fixed on the man's whereabouts. After a while, he put the energy-gathering stone in his palm space. With a flicker, he disappeared into the darkness. Instead of returning to his small courtyard at the foot of the mountain, he tailed the man. "I picked it up by the river." These words contained a lot of information. In Qinghe City, the "by the river" basically referred to the banks of the Sky Water River. Due to the opening of the mausoleum of Prince Qin, the river waters had surged and bubbled. Just as a mysterious stone tablet emerged, someone now picked up a strange energy-gathering stone. No one knew what lay ahead. Su Jingxing's intuition told him that the thin man had other things in his possession. There is more than one strange energy-gathering stone. This was why Su Jingxing decided to follow him. This lasted for half an hour. After leaving the square, the slim man got into a car. Seemingly afraid of being followed, he made a long detour around the central, southern, and eastern districts before arriving at a night market and entering a private room in a restaurant. Su Jingxing locked onto his target and hid in the darkness behind the restaurant. He activated advanced hearing and listened in on their conversation. The thin man was the loudest. "Huh, brothers, we succeeded. He really bought it." "Really? Are you sure it's $5 million? Do you think I'm lying? Here's the transfer text notification. Before I came here, I checked at the bank. It's indeed $5 million. Not a cent more, not a cent less." "Good. Great." The few people cheered excitedly. The sound of glasses clinking sounded through the air. Gulp. Gulp. Everyone gulped down a large glass of wine. Then, they continued to celebrate and discuss the topic. "Even though we don't know what these stones are, we are still making a killing if every one of them is sold for at least 5 million. Yeah, that big client sure is straightforward. He paid up once he checked the stone. That's because he has too much money and nowhere to spend it. Of course, he's also strong enough. I heard that he's in the 4th grade. He's not afraid of extortion or dirty tricks. Heh, if he wasn't strong enough, would he have dared to make the deal alone? That's true. By the way, should we sell all our stones to him? Hold on. Didn't old Wang entrust a stone to the Myriad Treasures Court? When the auction begins on the day after tomorrow's auction begins, we'll see the final price. If the proceeds from the auction are higher, we'll auction them. If the price is lower, we'll sell it to the mysterious buyer. That's right. This is called seizing both sides at once, maximizing the benefits. You guys can wait then. $5 million is enough for me anyway. Haha. Old Lee, you regret selling the stone so early, don't you? I told you to wait for 2 more days, but you wouldn't listen. You were in a hurry to sell the stone. If the price at the auction is higher, you are going to cry. It's too early to tell who would cry now. All you want is to maximize your profits and wait for the results of old Wang's auction. However, if the price goes below $1 million, do you think that mysterious client will still offer $5 million? Every time the Million Treasures auction goes on an auction, all the major factions will pay attention to it. Given that person's abilities, do you think he won't go to the venue to spectate? Even if he doesn't, won't he know about the situation afterward? The room fell into silence. That's right. They only thought of the good side, not the bad. If the price was too low, the mysterious client who bought the energy-gathering stone would no longer buy more. $5 million. By then, they might not even get $500,000. At the thought of this, old Wang and the others hesitated, feeling frustrated. What do we do? What do we do now? Shall we sell them as soon as possible? Still think we should wait. I think we should sell them. $5 million is a lot. The few people got into an argument. Listening to their conversation, Su Jingxing was equally shocked. Firstly, he had guessed right. There was more than one of these strange energy-gathering stones. Secondly, an energy-gathering stone had been sent to the Myriad Treasures Court to be auctioned. The Myriad Treasures Court wasn't a small faction. It was a large organization that had existed with a legacy of more than 300 years and spanned across more than 10 countries. Unlike other organizations, the Myriad Treasures Court only operated auction markets and charged transaction fees. For hundreds of years, all they did was be an agent. Their reputation and credibility were very solid. Both ordinary people or martial artists could go knocking on their doors. Once they passed the inspection and the item was confirmed to be extraordinary, the organization would accept the request and proceed with the auction. As far as Su Jingxing knew, the auctions of the Myriad Treasures Court's Qinghe City's branch did not have fixed timings. Some were a year apart, and others were half a year apart. Every time before an auction, there would be a certain amount of publicity done. They would be present in all channels, television, internet, newspapers, and radio broadcasts. This time, there was actually no publicity, only sharing the news through word of mouth. Are the items being auctioned more special this time? Su Jingxing pondered. The group of men in the room made preparations for two scenarios. On one hand, they contacted him, and on the other, they entrusted the strange energy-gathering stone to the Myriad Treasures Court for auction. If what they said was true, there would be an auction held at the Myriad Treasures Court the day after tomorrow. That would provide him with a better understanding of the situation. Neither they nor Su Jingxing recognized the stone. There were no records of such items in the Record of Wondrous Things in Xiantian University Library. The Record of Wondrous Things record wasn't the collection of wondrous things, it did not contain all the oddities in the world. It could only be said that in comparison, there were many strange items recorded. Su Jingxing wasn't surprised that there were no records of such a strange stone in the Record of Wondrous Things. But the people of the Myriad Treasures Court might know what it was. In terms of understanding treasures, the appraisers of the Myriad Treasures Court were the most experienced. They had access to inherited information of all kinds of treasures. The group of men in the room had picked up the strange stones by the river. If he had to pick people who were mostly likely to know what they were, the Myriad Treasures Court's appraisers would definitely be one of them. With this in mind, Su Jingxing took a few steps back and disappeared into the darkness, moving away from the restaurant. He found a remote corner and soared into the sky. There was a good chance that he would find out what the strange stone was once he attended the Myriad Treasures Court's auction. This was a perfect opportunity for him to take a look at the auction markets on Earthstar and see if there was anything good he could get his hands on. Before that, Su Jingxing wasn't in a hurry to obtain all the stones. It would be funny if this thing had side effects, or was not of much use other than really only serving to boost sleep. It was just 2 days, he could afford to wait. The auctions of the Myriad Treasures Court were all held at night. The location was the top floor of a tall building. The top 3 floors of the building had been bought by the Myriad Treasures Court as their branch in Qinghe City. Instead of incurring enmity with any organization, they helped everyone to gather all kinds of rare treasures. The Myriad Treasures Court had close ties with almost every faction. As long as it wasn't anything major, everyone was happy to do them favors. Of course, in order for any faction to flourish, no matter how individualistic and neutral they were, they had to have strong capabilities to be their backing and source of confidence. Similarly, the Myriad Treasures Court had many top-ranked experts as their guardians. Rumor had it that the owner was a first-grade big shot. As for his exact level, no one knew. Given Su Jingxing's current strength, he had nothing to fear about others. After a day, at 8 in the evening on the following day, he made a beeline for the Myriad Treasures Court through the air. He landed on the rooftop. His secret ability, advanced hearing, was activated for him to listen to the movements on the top floor below. People had already arrived and were waiting. Su Jingxing shook off his cloak, checked his mask, and walked towards the stairs. Before long, he was at the entrance of the auction hall. The guards at the entrance did not check tickets, they were only responsible for security. Su Jingxing entered the auction hall and found a corner to sit down, quietly waiting for the auction to start at 8:30 p.m. During this time, people arrived in succession and entered the auction hall. Su Jingxing recognized many of them. For example, Yan Yuanfeng of the Iron Thread sect had come with his sect master, Yuan Zhujuan. Zhao Zhongyi from the Cross Alliance, and the dean of Xuantian's Institute of Martial Arts, Han Zong, each came with one other person. The sect master of the Divine Fist sect, Di Donglei, the elder of the Green Cloud Court, Li Chuanjin, the patriarch of the Li family, Li Mingfang. Even Su Tailong from the Tailong Corporation was present. At the end, the commander of the Changyang Prefecture Army, Gu Zhanlin, and Lu Wuchang from the Lu family of CIN Bank, walked in and sat down. Experts. To think that third-grade experts like Gu Zhanlin and Lu Wuchang would show up at the auction. The puzzled Su Jingxing grew even more curious. Just what is the Myriad Treasures Court auctioning this time? Even third-grade martial artists are here. It wasn't as bad for Gu Zhanlin. Even though this was the first time Su Jingxing was seeing Lu Wuchang with his own eyes, he knew how powerful and mysterious he was through the memory card. To put it bluntly, like Su Jingxing, this guy also had a cheat ability in his life. Only the heavens knew where his terrifying intuition came from. Yet, this fellow had actually appeared at the auction. From this, it could be seen that the items being auctioned by the Myriad Treasures Court this time weren't simple. Good evening, guests. Welcome to the Myriad Treasures Court's special auction session. I'm your old friend, and auctioneer, Old Peng. At 8:30 p.m., on the stage at the front of the auction hall, an old man with thick eyebrows, dressed in a suit and leather shoes, his hair combed neatly appeared. With a small wooden mallet in hand, he wore a smile on his face, showing no fear at Gu Zhanlin and Lu Wuchang's arrival. Sure everyone knows the meaning of a special session, so I'll cut to the chase. If we have new friends here who don't know about it, it's fine. You'll find out soon enough. This is because there are only 3 items up for auction this time. Let's cut to the chase and get down to business. Let's bring out the first item. The thick-browed old man pointed at the edge of the stage. Under everyone's gaze, a female martial artist whose figure and looks were above average, dressed in a uniform, walked onto the stage with a round plate and placed it on the auction table. Swish. 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 Beams of light brightened up and lit up the entire auction table. At the same time, the large displays mounted into the walls on both sides of the auction hall lit up. They showed the item placed on the circular plate on the auction table. The female martial artist removed the red cloth covering the item, revealing its true appearance. A stone the size of 2 palms. Su Jingxing had no idea how others felt, but his pupils constricted. This stone was the same type of strange energy-gathering stone he had acquired. The first item was what Su Jingxing wanted to learn about. He was in luck. He more or less knew what kind of special session by the Myriad Treasures Court was now. Sure everyone is curious as to what this stone is. On the stage, the thick-browed old man's deep and powerful voice continued. Before I introduce it, please allow me to do some advertising. The appraisers of the Myriad Treasures Court are the most proficient with all the treasures in the world. Take this stone for example. I dare to claim that the Xiantian University Library doesn't have any records of its existence. Not all of them, even if they do. But our appraisers know what it is. Because this soul-nurturing stone originated from the Great Moon Empire from 3,000 years ago. Whoosh! There was a slight stir in the auction hall. Although silence was quickly restored, many people had indeed become interested. Putting the effects of the soul-nurturing stone aside, just what the words, Great Moon Empire, represented invigorated one. The Great Moon Empire was once the most powerful empire in the entire Eastern continent. The Eastern continent referred to the vast lands to the east of the boundless mountain range. Including the Yu nation, there were a total of 13 nations. That was now. In ancient times, the Eastern continent had more than 40 dynasties at one point. At the height of the Great Moon Empire's prosperity, there were only 3 nations in the Eastern continent. The northernmost Snow Nation, the southernmost Yen Nation, and the strongest Great Moon Empire. Had it not been for the fact that the Snow Nation was too cold and the Yen Nation too hot, these 2 nations would have been unified by the Great Moon Empire. According to historical records, the Great Moon Empire was the strongest in the martial emperor's domination era. This era began with the strongest, most unreasonable, and most domineering sacred moon martial emperor, and lasted for a total of 69 years. Over these 69 years, there was only one voice in the entire eastern continent. That of the sacred moon martial emperor. Under the suppression of the martial emperor, even the barbarian emperor had to bow his head. In these 69 years, apart from the first year where there was an invasion, the rest of the time was spent holed up in the boundless mountain range or occupying the western continent. Only after the death of a martial emperor did they begin invasions again. However, the sacred moon martial emperor's cause of death remained a mystery even today. Even though 3,000 years had passed, everyone was still interested in this tyrannical martial emperor. Su Jingxing was no exception. To think that the stones picked up by the group of men he was dealing with belonged to the Great Moon Empire. This was quite an opportunity. He wondered what was the use of this soul-nurturing stone. Friends, the advertisement is over. Let's continue, shall we? On the stage, the thick-browed old man said with a smile, anyone who doesn't know the full extent of the effects of the soul-nurturing stone will only treat it as a sleeping stone. Hugging it to sleep is very comfortable, and you will be especially refreshed the next day. However, in fact, the function of the soul-nurturing stone is to nourish soul power and strengthen one's soul. It can even heal wounds inflicted on the soul. Whoosh! The commotion in the auction hall was especially loud this time. It took a while before the silence returned. Everyone wore varying expressions of shock, joy, and astonishment. It nourished one's soul power, strengthened and healed one's soul. Any one of these functions was top-notch. Be it for martial artists in the top ranks or the middle ranks, they were highly attractive. Su Jingxing was also tempted. Or rather, no one wasn't. Including Gu Zhanlin and Lu Wuchang. Calm down, everyone, said the old man with a smile. The soul-nurturing stone is indeed a great treasure, but for it to take effect, you need the full set. That's right. There's more than one soul-nurturing stone, there are 12 of them. Only by gathering all 12 soul-nurturing stones can you fully utilize the effects of soul-nurturing. Why is this so? Because the soul-nurturing stones are man-made. They aren't formed naturally. Instead, they were molded by Empress Shadow Moon using array formations. No one knows why she created them, and that's also why many people have never heard of them. The Myriad Treasures Court went through hundreds of thousands of documents before finding some clues. In the end, we confirmed that this is a soul-nurturing stone. Unfortunately, we only received one soul-nurturing stone. We're not sure if the person who sent it has more. Therefore, the starting bid for this soul-nurturing stone is 100 million Great U$. The markup for every bid must not be lower than $10 million. Briennes, if you are interested, please state your bids. With that said, the thick-browed old man raised the mallet and got ready. 200 million, a fat middle-aged man swiftly shouted. 300 million. 400 million. Even without the old man's encouragement, everyone else followed suit. Every increment was $100 million. Wealthy people. Among the attendees, other than Old Wang and his colleagues who tasked the Myriad Treasures Court to sell the soul-nurturing stone, the others were in no lack of money. However, the real reason for their bids was not because they had nowhere to spend their money. Rather, it was because the effects of the soul-nurturing stone were too attractive. Even though there was only one piece, it was enough for everyone to take a gamble. Su Jingxing did the same. When the price reached 1.7 billion, he immediately called out 2 billion. He marked up the price by 300 million in one go. Only then did the agitated crowd calm down. 2 billion Great U$ was no longer a small amount. Even the Li family had to consider its gains and losses. The soul-nurturing stone was good, but there was only one of them here out of a total of 12. Did the seller have all the rest in their possession? No one knew. If they did, that would be fine. But if they didn't, or did not have the complete set, this would be a huge loss. Everyone fell silent as they pondered. 20 billion going once. Seeing this, the thick-browed old man shouted to work up the atmosphere. Anyone else wants to raise the bid? 20 going twice. Anyone else? If you miss this opportunity, that's it. Do twice about the effects of the soul-nurturing stone. There was still no response. 2 billion going thrice. When the thick-browed old man saw this, he rapped the hammer and announced in a clear voice, "Congratulations on winning the bid for the soul-nurturing stone, my friend. Please proceed backstage later for the transaction." Now, let's move on to the next item. With that said, the female martial artist put away the soul-nurturing stone, covered it with a red cloth, and temporarily moved it backstage. Another female martial artist came onto the stage, holding an even larger plate in her hand. On the plate was a rather large wooden box. The wooden box was placed on the auction table, and the female martial artist opened it to reveal its interior. It was a crimson-red plant tuber, about 20 centimeters in length and as thick as an infant's arm. As soon as it was exposed to the air, a scorching aura emanated from it. Buddha flame root? Gu Zhanlin's surprised voice sounded. Nice. On the stage, the thick-browed old man glanced at Gu Zhanlin and laughed heartily. This is a fire-attribute precious herb. It's naturally formed, and can be fused with any true energy, the Buddha flame root. Briennes, if you need to add a flame attribute to your internal energy, or if you already have attributes such as flame, or pure sun, you can buy it to strengthen yourself. The starting bid for the Buddha flame root is 200 million Great U$. Each markup must not be less than $5 million. 300 million. 350 million. The crowd broke into an uproar. However, compared to the soul-nurturing stone, the flame Buddha root only reached 500 million, and no one else continued bidding. This was because the price had peaked. The effects of the Buddha flame root were indeed miraculous. It could increase the flame attribute of one's true energy. But they were not necessary, and came with conditions. One had to have true energy attributes that were compatible in order to fuse them. With the water, ice, or yin attributes, fusing them would be courting death. Therefore, 500 million Great U$ was basically the maximum. This $500 million was still Su Jingxing's bid. As expected, he won the bid. The heaven-trampling true energy met the requirements for fusion, and Su Jingxing also wanted to add the flame attribute. Even though the fusion wouldn't contribute much to the might of his true energy, in the future, when destroying all traces, he wouldn't need to douse the corpses with corpse-dissolving liquid anymore. That's right. Su Jingxing's plan was simple. He wanted to fuse with the Buddha flame root to facilitate the eradication of corpses. Cough cough. Everyone, here's the last item. On the stage, the old man with the thick eyebrows raised his voice. Believe everyone is here for this item. Don't beat around the bush. I just want to tell everyone that this item will not disappoint. With that said, he gestured for the two female martial artists waiting by the side to carry a large wooden chest up the stage. All eyes were on the two of them. When the wooden chest was on the stage, the thick-browed old man waved his hand and a female martial artist opened it. An item that everyone was familiar with was immediately exposed. How is this possible? Is this real or fake? Good, very good. The Myriad Treasures Court lives up to its name. The auction hall was in an uproar. The leaders of various factions were shouting or yelling. Even Su Jingxing was shocked. That was because the item that had been exposed was the stone tablet that all the major factions in Qinghe City had been pursuing lately. The mysterious stone tablet that Ling Lin had captured floating on the surface of the Sky-Water River. The stone tablet which people had been deliberately trying to steer discussions to keep attention on online. Before this, there were only photos of the stone tablet, but now, the real thing was presented before everyone. No one knew who commissioned it to be auctioned off by the Myriad Treasures Court. Every item auctioned by the Myriad Treasures Court had to be appraised beforehand. Of course, it wouldn't be a problem if they were verified to be genuine. Even for the items whose authenticity could not be verified, it would also be clarified during the auction, allowing the bidders to decide whether they wanted to bid it or not. Of course, any item that made it to the auction stage, whether genuine or not, was extraordinary. This was the reputation that the Myriad Treasures Court had built up over several hundred years. So, as soon as the mysterious stone tablet, which had attracted the attention of the entire city, was revealed on stage, the crowd erupted. Without waiting for the thick-browed old man to open his mouth, all of them began bidding eagerly. 1 billion. 2 billion. 5 billion. All of a sudden, money didn't seem like money anymore. Su Jingxing listened to the bids as he sensed the mysterious stone tablet. The patterns on it were exactly the same as in the photo. In fact, compared to the photo, looking at the real object, he could clearly feel the strange fluctuations contained in each of the patterns. These fluctuations seemed to have a life of their own, they danced like musical notes whenever Su Jingxing sensed them. So, ka, na, si, ma, do. Whoosh! At that moment, a black shadow suddenly emerged from the front row of the auction hall. It dashed onto the stage and wrapped around the mysterious stone tablet, turning into a ball of black mist. Bam! The black mist exploded and surged. When it dissipated, the mysterious stone tablet was gone. Who did this? What incredible speed! They should still be nearby. Hurry up and give chase. The hall was a mess. The crowd snapped out of their daze and quickly got on their way, moving towards the entrance. The thick-browed old man was the third to react. He charged towards the exit. The first and second were Gu Zhanlin and Lu Wuchang. By the time the shadow rushed onto the stage, they were already on the move, hot on its heels with lightning speed. Yan Yuanfeng and the others were already considered late. Su Jingxing didn't move. Even though he had sensed the shadow the moment it appeared, he didn't give chase. The stone tablet was indeed mysterious, but it was a hot potato. Countless factions had their eyes on it. Su Jingxing was curious, but not in the mood to get involved. In comparison, the soul-nurturing stone and the Buddha flame root were more attractive to him. The sudden turn of events caused a huge commotion in the auction hall. Happy to save his money, Su Jingxing headed backstage to retrieve the two treasures he had bid. However, when he got backstage, someone was already there. The sect master of the Divine Fist sect, Di Donglei, together with Zhao Zhongyi of the Cross Alliance were fighting with 3 other people over the soul-nurturing stone and the Buddha flame root. As for the staff of the Myriad Treasures Court, they had all collapsed on the ground, either unconscious, howling in pain, or groaning. Su Jingxing stood at the entrance and took a few glances. Then, decisively, he backed away. Leaving through the window, he returned to the rooftop. He released his powerful perception and used advanced hearing to listen to the movements beneath his feet. He wanted to wait until a victor was decided between the two groups, and one party had completely fallen, to silence the other party. Yet, Di Donglei chased after Zhao Zhongyi, out of the building, and into the sky above the city. Su Jingxing hung far behind them and locked onto their tracks. They traveled south until they arrived at the Sky Water River. In the end, Di Donglei risked getting injured and was stabbed in the abdomen by Zhao Zhongyi's sword before he knocked Zhao Zhongyi into the Sky Water River. He then managed to seize the soul-nurturing stone and the Buddha flame root. Pooh! Lying on the bank of the river, Di Donglei pressed down on his wound. As he caught his breath, he spat out a mouthful of blood. Clap! Clap! Su Jingxing walked out from a corner, clapping his hands. Who's there? Yelled Di Donglei, turning around. His expression changed when he saw Su Jingxing's attire. Who are you? What are you doing here? Waiting for the outcome to be decided between you two. Lowering his voice, Su Jingxing chuckled. As for who I am, there's no need for you to know. Di Donglei remained silent, his face grim. You want to save your energy, don't you? Su Jingxing continued, maintaining his composure, it would be best if you can save my energy. At the very least, you won't have to suffer any more injuries. Boom! A dull thud echoed. Di Donglei suddenly threw a punch. The blazing light dispersed the night sky and headed straight for Su Jingxing. Bam! Energy surged through the air with a loud explosion. Yet Su Jingxing disappeared from where he was standing. Di Donglei's attack missed. That's not good. Su Jingxing appeared about 5 meters away on Di Donglei's right. Can't we get along peacefully? Why must we fight? Boom! A blazing fist imprint burst forth with blinding light once again. Swish! Bam! His figure flashed as he dodged the attack. When he came to a stop, Su Jingxing controlled a throwing dagger that flew through the air. Plkch. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Ah! Ah! Accompanied by Di Donglei's screams, the throwing dagger first pierced through his arm, then spun like a cutting machine and severed his palm. In an instant, Di Donglei's injuries worsened, and he lost all his offensive power. Hugging his severed hand, he shuffled on the ground, his eyes filled with fear. He couldn't care less about the soul-nurturing stone and Buddha flame root he had stolen now. In shock, anger, and indignance, he crawled up from the ground in a sorry state and tottered away. Su Jingxing did not give chase and allowed him to leave. When Di Donglei was more than 200 meters away, he then controlled the throwing dagger to shoot through the air like a bolt of lightning. When it caught up, it pierced through his head. He extracted a card and stored it in his palm space. Putting away the soul-nurturing stone and the Buddha flame root as well, Su Jingxing turned around and soared into the sky. Along the way, he made an anonymous call to the crematorium's customer service office and informed them of the location of Di Donglei's corpse. Back at his small courtyard at the foot of the mountain, Su Jingxing took out both treasures and inspected them one by one. The first was soul-nurturing stone, which was exactly the same as the one he had bought. All 12 similar soul-nurturing stones had to be present to be effective. The probability of him being able to gather all of them was too low. Even the group of people Su Jingxing knew about didn't have 10 of them in their possession. Therefore, he decided to leave these stones aside for now. On the other hand, the Buddha flame root was a great item. Su Jingxing had spent $500 million on it. He never expected that someone would be so bold as to seize the mysterious stone tablet directly at the auction venue. That saved him a big sum of money. Now that an auction item had been stolen from the hall, the Myriad Treasures Court would undoubtedly be enraged. If they didn't capture the person who stole the stone tablet, their reputation built up over centuries would crumble overnight. Therefore, the days ahead would be lively. Su Jingxing paid close attention as he prepared to fuse with the Buddha flame root. If he could increase the add a flame attribute to heaven-trampling true energy, he wouldn't need to make anonymous phone calls to the crematorium to get the corpse collection teams to pick up corpses anymore. His phone suddenly rang. Su Jingxing snapped back to his senses and picked it up. It was a call from Shenqian. He immediately answered the call. Senior, the person who sold the strange energy-gathering stone previously contacted us again. He said he has a few more of those strange energy-gathering stones. Do you want them? Yes. Su Jingxing stifled a laugh. Answer him. I want the energy-gathering stones, but the price will be the same as before. If there's no problem, we can meet at the same time and place. Okay. Shenqian hung up. These guys sure react fast. Su Jingxing laughed as he played with his phone. News of a robbery at the Myriad Treasures Court would quickly spread. The information of the soul-nurturing stone would also spread to the ears of the major factions. Given the strength of the group of people who sold the soul cultivation stone to Su Jingxing, once it was found that they were the owners of the soul cultivation stone, there was no way they could fend any visitors off. They would soon be killed and the stones taken away. Originally, this shouldn't happen. After all, the Myriad Treasures Court had a good reputation and never asked for customer information. However, even the Myriad Treasures Court had been implicated tonight. No one could guarantee that they would be able to keep the information privy. As long as one wanted to investigate, they would eventually find out. On top of that, these people did not have the complete set of soul-nurturing stones in their possession, so they had no use keeping them. Rather than being put in a passive position and feeling jittery, getting nervous at the slightest disturbance, they might as well exchange them for a large sum of money so that they could settle this once and for all. Su Jingxing had offered $5 million per soul-nurturing stone. This price wasn't low. Of course, for old Wang, who had entrusted the soul-nurturing stone to the Myriad Treasures Court to auction, he would probably faint from crying in the toilet. Not only was the sky-high price of $2 billion gone, even $5 million was now out of the question. Although the Myriad Treasures Court would compensate him for the loss of the item, such compensation was limited. He still suffered a huge loss. How could he not cry at such a blow? The phone rang again. Su Jingxing answered the call. On the other end of the line, Shen Qian said quickly, "Senior, the other party has agreed to meet at the usual time and place." "All right." Su Jingxing replied before ending the call. Then, he switched on his computer and transferred 30 million Great Yu dollars to Shen Qian's account. Then, he changed into his usual attire. When it was about time, he headed for the central square. He flew through the air and arrived at the pavilion. It was not 11 p.m. yet, but a few people were already gathered in the pavilion. Su Jingxing took a few glances through the air. They were the same group of men he had seen last time. Immediately, he descended from the sky and walked out from a corner. "It's him." The man who was looking around was the first to spot Su Jingxing. He pointed at him from a distance and shouted, "The big client is here. Get ready, brothers." Cough, cough. The few of them straightened up immediately, each of them holding a box in their hands as they waited respectfully for Su Jingxing. "Did you bring the items?" When Su Jingxing got close, he got straight to the point. Yes, we did." The man nodded hastily. Then, he motioned for his companions to open the boxes in their hands, revealing the soul-nurturing stones inside. Who? With a wave of his hand, Su Jingxing released his true energy and controlled the soul-nurturing stones to float in the air. Pieces of soul-nourishing stones flew towards him and he carefully sensed them. After confirming that they were identical to the two he had already obtained, he waved his hand and stored the 5 soul-nurturing stones into his palm space. Of course, in the eyes of the group, he had merely put them into his cloak. Including these 5, Su Jingxing now had a total of 7 soul-nurturing stones. Suppressing his smile, he sent a text message to Shen Qian telling her to transfer the money. Moments later, the phones of the few people beside the man all beeped. They quickly took them out. When they saw a string of zeros on the screen, they were overjoyed and cheered excitedly. Thank you. They bowed respectfully to Su Jingxing before turning around and leaving. "Wait," Su Jingxing called out softly. The group froze in place, not daring to move. They knew that Su Jingxing seemed to be a 4th-grade expert. If they tried to escape forcefully after being targeted by a 4th-grade expert, their lives might be in danger. Therefore, they stood rooted to the ground, not daring to move. Yes. "Relax," said Su Jingxing coolly. "I just want to ask a question." "Please, go ahead." Su Jingxing asked, "Which segment of the Sky-Water River did you pick up these stones from?" "Just, downstream, near the southern bank of the river," answered the man timidly. "Was there anything else besides stones?" Su Jingxing continued to probe. "And no." "Are you sure?" asked Su Jingxing, raising an eyebrow. Of course, said the man, raising his hand. At least I didn't find any other stones. Me neither. Didn't either. There were only these rocks by the river back then. They looked good to us, so we took one each. Right. When we brought them home afterward, we realized that it felt comfortable holding these stones. Especially when we were sleeping. Subsequently, when we heard about your acquisition of energy-gathering stones, we wondered if you wanted these stones too, so we contacted you. The few of them began explaining the entire situation in detail, with each person chiming in here and that. They were afraid that Su Jingxing would disregard his reputation and lay his hands on them. Su Jingxing fell into deep thought after listening to what they said. His powerful perception told him that these people weren't lying. However, it was somewhat surprising that there were only soul-nurturing stones and nothing else. It's fine now, you guys can leave, said Su Jingxing, signaling the man and his companions to leave. Upon hearing this, the group fled at once and were gone in a flash. Su Jingxing stayed where he was. As usual, he locked onto them using his perception. After putting some distance between them, he sprang into the air and tailed them. That's right. With his powerful perception, he could tell that they were telling the truth. But they could only share half or even less of it. As long as they deliberately controlled themselves, Su Jingxing wouldn't be able to sense it. He chose to let them go and follow behind them. Once the group of men relaxed, there was a good chance that they would reveal whatever they had concealed. Which was exactly what Su Jingxing wanted to know. Whoosh! Whoosh! The night wind blew. As Su Jingxing flew through the air, his body shifted rapidly, almost invisible to ordinary people. He hung behind the man and his companions from a distance and came to a house in an estate. After closing the door and windows, the few of them slumped into their chairs and panted heavily. Hiding in a corner downstairs, Su Jingxing activated advanced hearing to listen in on their movements. Moments later. Tell me, what should we do with the flag?